welcome back to the Success Blueprint, where we're going to break down habits, mindset, and game plans of high achievers who've built major success in sports, business, and life. And I am super excited about today's guest. We're joined by someone who's lived both sides, from Super Bowl champion to successful entrepreneur and real estate professional, the one and only Gary Brackett. Gary became a super good friend, and it's been fun being able to chat over the last few years and getting to know you better. But Gary, take us back to when you were a kid, dreaming and dreaming big, and what did success look like for you? What did things look like for you?
Yeah, man. First of all, thanks for having me on. I'm always excited to kind of share my story and be amongst like-minded individuals. But growing up, success, it was interesting because I didn't have a lot of role models, in terms of people emulating what I wanted to do. So I always just thought of things or people who I didn't want to emulate and more of like people that I didn't want to be like, right? So growing up, I think when I was in the sixth grade, Reggie White had came to our school in
Wow.
Glassboro, New Jersey, about 20 minutes away from Philadelphia. And I'm like, man, I just saw everyone just enamored by him. And I was like, I was a football player at the time. I love football. I was like, man, I want to be a football player when I grew up. So, that's something that always stuck out to me, like wanting to be a football player and something that I worked on. I played three sports growing up, football, basketball, and baseball. Actually, baseball was my best sport, but
Wow.
I think really started to like football as you got older. As a male, that testosterone started getting riled up, and I figured I could hit people and not get in trouble. I was like, man, this might be the ticket. So I kind of stuck with football.
That's awesome. Having a sixth grader, fifth grader. I mean, that's cool that Reggie White came and was able to make that impact on you.
Yeah.
Um, what motivated you, like through college and things like that, and then becoming undrafted? Going to the Colts. What's some things that kind of helped you and pushed you through, and tell us what that was like.
Yeah, man, I was a undrafted. Well, I was a walk-on in college, so I didn't have a scholarship. So I kind of had to walk on and get a scholarship. Crazy story. My third year there, because my first year they didn't let me play football. They wanted me to get good academics. So my third year, I get a call from my father. He was like, "Hey, I can't pay for your tuition." They had refinanced their house twice in order for me to go to school. They weren't expecting to have to pay for a college at the time. And I went and told my head coach, man, and or my position coach, and he was shocked because at this time I'm second string linebacker. I'm starting special teams. And we're bad. Like Rutgers was bad, when I played in that decade, 1998, 2003. Um, but the next day I was leaving. I had my Hyundai Excel hatchback, right? It was about year 2000, so it was about 1986 Hyundai
Oh,
Excel, like
nice.
the sky blue, right? The nice one. I tell people I got residual effect for my biceps because after 50 miles per hour, it would shake on the highway, right? So, just trying to keep it straight. But I went to the coach's office. Head coach called me in, and it was so weird because he led the conversation off with, we're gonna recruit players that are bigger and better than Gary Brackett, and I'm just like, all right, like I'm leaving. I'm just saying thank you for the opportunity, like, but then he was like, but you work really hard. You have a 3.3 GPA. You won our 12 man hardest worker of the offseason. Someone just fell out of school. I'm gonna give you a scholarship. So my mom was like,
Wow.
man, so I was super excited.
Nice.
So that from that moment on, I went to the locker room and the weight room where everyone was at, and I was training, and I'm excited. And then one guy kind of bust my bubble. He was like, what are you all yelling for? What are you guys screaming about? He was like, I got a scholarship, man. I get to stay. And he was like, scholarship? You should worry about starting. And I was like, starting? I'm just like, I think it happens to us all. More it's like life beats you down, right? You
Yeah.
have these lofty goals, these lofty plans, these lofty dreams, and then life starts lifing. And then
Yeah.
one thing after another, and then you just start, I think, reducing what your marker was, your goal is just like, man, if I just got this would be all right.
Yeah.
right? I really don't need that. Just give me this, right? I'm just bare minimum at this point. Let me survive. And then that night I couldn't go to sleep. And I just was tossed and turned like, you should be the starter. You should be a starter. So I woke up the next day and I made a list of what I have to do to be a starter. And it was like, on the field, showing up early, going even harder, working out, watching film, doing extra. And then, things I needed to eliminate. My diet I need to clean up. I need to clean up, drinking, at the frat house, 10 beer, playing beer pong, all that silly stuff that we don't think hurts us, but it really does. So I think once I got that, the focus was just like being the best player that I could be. And initially I was undersized and proving everyone wrong, like I can do this. But then like you become such a hard worker and so dedicated, just like it was more about proving me right. And I thought I could do it. So I wanted to prove to myself that if I really worked hard, if I really locked in, and if I really committed to the things that was necessary to do, right, that I can achieve, a goal. And for me, that meant the world to me because now, when I sit back and I goal plan or I think about things I want to achieve, right, my first commitment was like, are you committed to yourself? Are you committed yourself to this list? And typically when I am, I can make some great things occur.
So when you were doing that, I'm sure gradually you started getting more and more respect from teammates, coaches, things like that. I mean, what was that like? I mean, I imagine it felt amazing, but I mean, what was that process like?
The crazy thing is like it's this quote that it says talent no hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. So guys were way more talented than me, 4-star, 5-star, bigger guys, stronger, faster, whatever, right? But the one thing that I had that they didn't, was that I was consistent.
Mm.
I showed up, every single day, despite the losses, despite what's going on. And I tell people now, I do a lot of public speaking, a lot of personal coaching. I tell people, can you fall in love with the process and divorce yourself from the outcome? Can you fall in love with doing the right thing because it's the right thing? And typically, people can, in our business, real estate, they will cold call, they will reach out to their spare influence, they'll do the things. And if they have success, I feel like that's motivating enough for them to keep going. But if they don't have success, then they just stop altogether. And, you tell people, hey, I'm going to tell you what to do. They're like, I've already tried that. But how long did you try? Right?
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing the guy saw in me was just like, damn, he's really going to come in a weight room and like crash out every single day. Like he's not going to like, have a day off, have a bad day, go in the corner and hide, be hungover. He's really going to come on here and like try to push weight every single day. Like who does this? So I think that more, that mindset, like, and in order to be successful, I think people will have to assume that you're a little bit crazy.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
Obsessed, right?
It's true.
Yeah. It's just like,
Yeah.
what is he still doing that for? Like, it's like, they're leaving home or maybe they left and they drove past the office and they see the car still in the parking lot. Like, he's still here? Like, what's going on? Right. It's just like, no, it takes what it takes.
So what sets that apart? I mean, you obviously had that. You mentioned from the beginning that even as a young kid, you were looking at things, you didn't have a lot of great examples around you. And so you were looking at what not to do. So many kids don't have that mindset. What separates you or anyone that's successful from the rest of the crowd?
Yeah, man. So I had 3 older brothers at the time. Where I grew up, it's funny because I always try to preface it. My whole life was like I grew up across the street from the projects, which I did, right? My house was like right here, and the projects was like they're directly across the street. And I wanted to make the distinction just because like the assumptions when you tell someone you're from the projects, right? Like the poor, like we were middle class. Like my dad, my mom were together, right? So I didn't want to be associated with people from the project. But really, my mentality at points was someone from like a lower economic, like a desperate, background. So I think my thinking was always like, man, how do I get out of here?
Mm.
How do I and you know, I saw so many talented players come back, went to college one year, come back, you know, now they're, you know, doing whatever factory job, not working. And I was just like, man, like it has to be more than that, right? Like you have to, like when you leave and go to college, and this was awful, right? But it's just the nature of the business, right? You know, go around, you know, drugs, activity, you know, that type of stuff. And when people and athletes went to college, they would make bets on how many semesters he would stay before he drops out.
Wow. Wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's just like that's the mentality that people were. It was like where I was from, people like threw people parties for like going to jail parties. Like they did a crime, they got committed, now they're gonna turn themselves in. And they would have a party like to send them off to jail, not a party to send them off to college.
Wow.
So it would just that sort of thinking was just like, man, it gotta be a better way. And I'm not gonna succumb myself to this level of thinking. I'm gonna rise above this, right? And despite what they say, right, I'm gonna do this for me.
That's awesome. I love that. And it's, I love underdog stories. That's the best. And so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your book, Winning from Walk On to Captain and in football and in life. So tell us a little bit about
got
that.
a little copy right here.
Oh, look at that. I love it.
I just went to a speaking engagement. I was able to sell some books. But so man, my life it was like, you know, I was a PK, and I spent a lot of time in church, and you know, preachers would always say like you're either in a storm, out of a storm, or heading back into one. And I feel like, you know, that was a little bit of my life. Walked on in college, was a free agent in the NFL, had to make the team. And then when I got to the league my first year, I lost my father, I think that October. He was a military vet, Marine. He had several complications, and unfortunately, he lost his life. As a boy, I always thought about dreaming, buying my mom a house, you know, when I got older and I made it. So my first year's check, I was going to dedicate it to buying her a house. We picked it out. We were doing all the selections, and I'm like, man, like the first time I really realized, like, man, women have expensive taste, right? I'm like, this is crazy. So heading back to Indianapolis for like an autograph sign or something. My mom went to then have a surgery. It was a hysterectomy, and unfortunately, she passed away on the recovery table.
Oh my gosh.
So in an 8 month span, I lost my dad, my brother. The same time, my brother was diagnosed with T-cell neuroblastic leukemia. He was 3 years older than me. And the crazy thing is we looked a lot alike, which I always say, like, it was great for me because when he turned 21, I turned 21, right? For some reason, he couldn't keep
It's funny how that happens.
his license, right? He just kept on being lost, right?
Oh,
It's showing up in my pocket somehow. But my second year in the NFL, he needed a bone marrow transplant, and I went home, kind of figured it was going to be me, and it was. And because of complications with insurance, I didn't get the call to like right before the first mini camp my second year. That I like it's now and never. Like you got to come this weekend and give your brother a bone marrow transplant. So I went and gave him a bone marrow transplant, and unfortunately, he still lost his life like a year later. So 18 month span, I lost my mom, my dad, my brother.
Wow.
All that dealing with being in the NFL, a high pressure job, performing well, and then my third year in the NFL, I was named the starter. So now I'm the starter, and then my fourth year, I'm the starter and captain. So then we were able to go win a Super Bowl, and it kind of like tells the journey, just an underdog story of, you know, someone who just fought against all the odds. It was crazy because a lot of me, sometimes I feel like our story makes us ashamed, or because we know about it and the pain and the triggers, we don't want to revisit it. But what I realized was just like sharing my story helps so many people out there that's going through it. And that was the book was about, which is about sharing, you know, all those moments, highs and lows of life, and just encouraging people to continue to push forward.
Gary, when
Love
you
that.
went through those things, how, like, your mindset, like I lost my dad five years ago, and it just kind of scrambles your brain a little bit. And how were you able to get through that just mentally? I mean, all that loss and then all that pressure and all that stress. I mean, as a fan, I watch from home, and you hear stories of things going on. How do you do that?
The crazy part, and I think this is so critical for so many people. When you experience adversity, like there's a moment when you probably consider quitting, and sometimes the adversity or the obstacle is so big, like everyone will understand why. And it's like you don't even have to explain it to them. Like, man, I get it. Um, but then I would just, almost like having these visions of my parents, my brothers, come and talk to me like, man, don't you dare quit. Like, you got the biggest stage, you know what I'm saying, on this world. You worked your butt off to get here. Like, go out there and play for us. So then it just turned into me like they had a front row seat in heaven. So every game I would like do like this and point up to heaven, and I feel like they was always there watching me. So it was like, that thing on your wrist, what would Jesus do? But it was just always like for any big decision, like, yo, what would your family do? What would your mom do? What would your dad say? So that kind of always like pushed me forward, man, because they sacrificed so much for me to get to this point. And like, who am I to give up on that, right? And sometimes favor is not fair. Sometimes you're positioned in a way, either financially, either spiritually, either mentally. Or you look at a woman like your wife, like our significant others, like they're sacrificed with the kids, and like, yo, this isn't fair. And like sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're just chosen to do certain jobs, and I think it's up to us to kind of see that all the way through.
That's awesome. I mean, you played being coached by one of the greats, Tony Dungy. You played on the opposite side of the ball, being a captain from Peyton Manning.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? What leadership, what lessons, what, discipline did you have to have? What are some things that you felt like you developed and that maybe those opportunities helped you with?
Yeah, Coach Dungy, it was just like he had this amazing gift to simplify things. When you call a defense and you grew up in football, your kids play, there's no such thing as a perfect call, right? Like people have to make it perfect. And it was just like, and we would be in the meeting room and, this guy is blitzing from the left, but this guy has to stay on the right and has to cover this guy to the left. And in the meeting room, you're just like, we'd always jokingly say the number one rule in the NFL was to establish blame, right? So, probably a lot like that in life too, right? So you would always be like, hey, how am I gonna get over here, right? He could go out to a flat, all these things, right? Overthinking it. He'd just come in the room like, what are we talking about? It's like, yeah, like we're blitzing here. Gary has them over here. It's like if that guy comes out, we're blitzing 6 people. They don't have enough people in the block. We're gonna punch him in his. They're gonna punch the quarterback in his mouth. Like there's no time to get it off. It was just like, oh, right, and it was just like so much simplifying that thing for Peyton Manning. It was just like the details matter. You would think like, all right, line it up at this, like the receivers, this many yards between the halves, line it up, exactly here, having a route be exactly 10 yards, you're throwing to exactly the spot. And so many times people will be like, all right, what one thing would you do to like be successful? And it's like, that's the thing, it's not one thing. It's like, right, it's not just one thing. It's like how I work out. It's how I communicate. It's how I establish relationships. It's, how I go about my work, the books that I read, the self-development. It's all these things. I can't just give you one thing. There's no crock pot to success. Like you got to take the stairs.
I love that. I love that. It's everything. It's who you are. It's not just one thing you did that makes you successful. I love that. So it looks like I've read there was a couple things that I saw of you recently where you talk about mindset being the true strength lies within.
Mm-hmm.
And then also kind of gratitude for the good and the bad throughout your life. How do you stay grateful for those things that maybe were so difficult to go through?
Man, I think just because of the perspective that it gave me.
Okay.
But most people, I think, operate in life based on their perception, and everything is about them, and everything is about what they feel, and they can't see typically things any other way. But I think when so many things happen with adversity, and you understand, you just gain a perspective, and now it helps me see things from the other side of the lens of what made this other person be going through in this moment that's making them react the way they are. And how can I do a better job of communicating, with them through this period, and just trying to like really create win-win scenarios where you're communicating and figuring out. Like I went to remember when you used to travel in the airport? I don't know if you read like the magazines, but it was like they had this Carras negotiating skills.
Yeah.
It was so it was at like a hotel. So I went to this, right? It was like the best class ever. It was like a 2-day negotiating skill. And his thing was like, one, everything in life is negotiable. Two, in order to be a great negotiator, you got to figure out what the other person wants. From that perspective, I'm always like, leading like, hey, what would you consider a win in this situation? Like, how can we make you happy? Like, what things matter to you the most, and what things can we kind of like figure out ways that we can compromise on? And I think that kind of helps save a lot of time, especially like when you're going back and forth. Like, all right, cool. Is the price the only thing that's gonna hang you up? So, how about the terms? If I were able to give you this price and pay you over 3 years or 5 years, opposed to year one, would you accept that? All right, because yeah, we get on the price, but there's a bunch of different ways we can get there.
Yeah. I love that. Who was that? What was that class?
It was like an old guy. It was like a white guy who was bald headed. It was in this like Carras negotiating school, right? And it was
Okay.
like one of those hotel classes that was like promoted all the time. It was great though. They had
That's
books. It,
pretty
it
cool.
was one time I did it. It was like there was like these rare eggs, and then you had to buy the eggs. And someone had to sell the eggs, and everyone's had different budgets for the eggs. And the seller wasn't supposed to sell the eggs, right? Well, the one who won sold like the eggshell to one person because they were going to use it, and then they sold the yolk inside to someone else because that's what they needed,
Oh,
I
wow.
see.
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's so many ways, right? Until you ask better questions, I think you really don't know how you could truly help people.
So true. So true. Tell us about the Impact Foundation. I love
Yeah.
that.
So during the time when I gave my brother the bone marrow transplant, I went to the hospital. It was Robert Wood Johnson in New Brunswick. Rutgers is right there, and I would go give him the bone marrow transplant, walk with him to see him get chemo, and then walk back with him to the room. And I would see so many kids that were there kind of affected by the disease, right? And oftentimes they were alone because their parents had other, responsibilities back home. So I just looked at it as a great area. It's crazy because, growing up, you hear cancer, but it's like something that other people get, right? There's nothing that really hits home until like it hits home, then you just realize how prevalent it is and how many people it affects in their lives. So I started in 2007 after the Super Bowl, just giving out to kids that are critically and chronically illnesses, just not only helping them, but helping their families through different programs, stock the locker programs, where we're in the hospitals giving out toys, Christmas and things like that. So just my way of giving back the people that were affected by illnesses the way that I was.
I love that. So many people see problems and issues like that and just don't ever do anything about it. That's so awesome that you're in a position to do it and you just went forward and made it happen. I love that.
Yeah.
Gary, so from NFL, and then you go on to your business career. So
Right.
share with what that transition's like and what that looks like and I mean, I've heard, I've only played, high school sports, but I hear that like when a career like that ends, sometimes people lose purpose, or sometimes people struggle to know what's next. Uh, what was that like of that transition? I mean, that was your whole life. I mean, you hit the highest of the highs with the best of the best, and then it's time to move on or to switch up. So what is that like?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? Because I was 31 when I retired, had a 9-year career, and I can remember thinking like, "Yo, I'm retired, right? That's what retired means." So I'm golfing like every day. I'm a terrible golfer. Um, I got what is it, elbow tendonitis because I'm swinging wrong. And I can remember at the time, my mother's children was going to work. She was a doctor, and my youngest was about 10 years ago, so she was about 5, 6. And I'm leaving the house, and she says to me like, "Dad, what do you want to do when you grow up?" I was like, "What? Like you don't see this house, like these cars, the Super Bowl ring? Like what are you talking about?" But it kind of stung me like, "Damn, yeah, what am I gonna do when I grow up?" So after that, I kind of went back to school. I went to George Washington University and got an MBA. I think we all possess a certain set of tool bag, if you will, right? But if we don't recalibrate the tools, if we don't sharpen the saw, if we don't do certain things, those tools kind of get stale. When I left the NFL, I felt like I would always use the hammer. And the challenge with that is like if you have that mentality, every situation looks like a nail, right?
Yeah.
And you can't just bully your way, right? And just run through the wall. In a negotiation deal, like people will sue you, right? So um, figuring out other ways to kind of get that done. So then they're just like, man, let me figure out something else. So then I did that. I started investing in real estate, and then at the same time, I opened up restaurants. I had a restaurant called the Stack Pickle, and we grew 10 locations. I was able to like put in all the documentations, set up all the paperwork in order to franchise. We had 7 franchises sold, and then 2020 hit. And they're just like, what? Like they canceled the NBA season?
Yeah.
Like they canceled
Yeah.
March Madness? So it just like kept on getting worse and worse and worse. So unfortunately, I had to like, kind of fall on the sword, fall on a grenade, if you will. 400 employees, didn't have an
Wow.
idea, when we would go back to work, if any. So unfortunately, I had to kind of like, divide that business, get rid of the stores, file for BK, and kind of have a reset. It's so tough because my personality is very emotional on your sleeve, go all in. And then when you do that, sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, it could either be a loss or a lesson. So I could either
Love
say,
that.
I lost millions of dollars in the restaurant business, or I gained millions of dollars worth of wisdom. The former would be very depressing. The latter kind of makes me unstoppable.
I love that.
So now you do have Georgia Reese's restaurant?
No, so all the restaurants were kind of like canceled during, I mean, COVID, it
Oh,
was like canceled at the bar.
okay.
Then it was you can't come in a restaurant. So yeah, so none of them kind of survived. They were
Okay.
kind of all in their time. So now I do a lot of public speaking. I do
Fantastic.
coaching and also real estate, bonding and selling homes, as well as like I work with investors and I sell some retail, but mostly working with investors and things like that.
So
That's
what
awesome.
made you jump into real estate? Where did that come from? What was that idea? And that's where I guess you and I connected. And what was that like, or what was that thought process?
Yeah, man, I can remember like, 1999, always thinking, man, I wanted to be rich, right? I was going to be a stockbroker at Rutgers. I was a business economics degree major, and I wanted to work on Wall Street, wanted to own properties, the whole thing, flip homes. And I saw Robert Kiyosaki, like late night program. And I can remember like money back guaranteed, and I got the program. I couldn't afford the program, so I went to the library, made copies, sent the program back. We were just we were just reading just about real estate. So my first year in the NFL, I didn't invest in a 401k. We had the option. I self invested, so I bought like 2 properties. I held one for rent and then I sold one. After that, it was like, man, it was something that I wanted to continue to kind of build. So, over the years, I probably flipped 35 to 40 homes. At one point, I had 12 rental properties. So it's something I'm always passionate about. I mean, if you're a student of success, and if you look at the most successful people on the planet, they have some sort of real estate in their portfolio. So I think it's something that's tangible, something that appreciates, it's something that where you can figure something out with your taxes. So it's something that I feel like I've always engaged in, and now it's great to be able to like do different things and use my brain power to kind of make money. It's not always about putting up money on deals. Sometimes you can just be a great connector, networker, and able to make some ends meet.
I love that. I love that. When you talk about your business of the stacked pickle, and the trouble, that came through business or whatever, how could you maybe did you feel like it was something maybe you learned through the NFL or through college, or just, is there a lesson that helped you kind of get through that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was broke my whole life, right, into the NFL and that, right? And I think the lesson more than anything was like money didn't define me. Like I'm still the same person, right? Still have the same energy, the same motivations. So it was something that, obviously I hated going through. And the biggest thing was like how I struggled just with my relationship with the kids and when I envisioned leaving them in terms of like starting their legacy. And then I realized it's much more important not what I leave for my kids, but what I leave in them. So that's why I'm so active, extremely active with my kids, just being available for them. Same thing, win or lose, just being there, shoulder cry on, or somebody to celebrate with. And I think for me, I just learned like your number one ability is your availability, and being available for the people that I love, the people that I cherish. I think means the world to me. Because it's crazy because when you look at happiness and fulfillment, I would always think like, if I had a graph, if I had, this money of happy, or this much money, I'll be happy and fulfilled, right? But it doesn't work like that, right? And then I feel like I realized like, yo, I could wake up today and decide to be happy. Right. I don't need any money. I don't need anything. I could just decide to live my life with joy, with gratitude, with peace. And then when you start doing that, you start realizing, like, man, what do I really need to be happy, to be fulfilled? Right. And it's just like, no, I just need a life of purpose, a life of fulfillment. Like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Like, am I an example? And I think, that to me means the world to me. And now I measure success not necessarily by my bank account, although I do pretty well, but by my calendar.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like so many people are got all the money in the world, have zero availability,
True. Time is the
and
most precious thing, right?
yeah, no doubt. And it's just like and I coach football, and I see dads that don't show up to their kids' games, and I see how it affects the kid.
Yeah.
Right? And I see their relationship. I see how fractured it is. I don't know who it was. It was a billionaire, and he was older in his 70s maybe. And like, what success is? Success is, you know, when I don't have to twist my kid's arm from them to come back home for like Thanksgiving and Christmas and spend time with their dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
The one of my favorite things I think you've said is not what you leave for your kids, it's what you leave in them.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
So with your coaching, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
With
good.
your coaching and that, I'm sure you see a lot of people that are successful and you've helped them to get successful, and other people that maybe just struggle a little bit. What do you see the differences there when you're coaching people? What's the difference between those that you can help and you actually see progress and success, and those that are more stagnant?
Yeah, so I created this framework that I use like when I'm coaching, and it's helpful, right? It's the CHAMP framework. I always use CHAMP. And the C is like understand your current situation. H is honing on your desired destination. A is apply the 80-20 principle. M is take massive action. And P is like the pursuit of the champion transformation. So a lifelong journey. So when I see people that are stagnant, it's that C part with that current situation. Sometimes people aren't honest with themselves. And if you're not honest with yourself to begin, if we're going on a trip and we put in the wrong coordinates, like we're not going to be able to get the correct directions to get us to like our desired destination because we put in the wrong coordinates. And so many people, when they start off, right, they have the wrong coordinates. They're when I teach people, it was like, I want business skills. I want to market and do Facebook ads and all these type of things. It's like, no, you need to figure out your purpose. You need to have core values that are not like for a poster, are not something that you aspire to be, the things that you actually live in your life and you don't have to think about. And you need to wake up on fire every single day and be grateful for what you already have. And if you show up that way and treat people that way, the speed, like, because most times, they're in positions where they're leaders, and then you get, oh man, I can't get my team to do it. Well, you can't be a 5-6 as a leader and have an 8-9 as a team. You can't do it. So the speed of the leader determines where to pack. So if you want to be a better leader in your organization, you have to become a better person. So I think breaking that down and forcing people to stop blaming guilt, right? And stop blaming everyone else, taking that self-accountability, that executive ownership, and then I think you could truly begin to change it.
I love that. What routines, what things do you do in your life that you're implementing now to keep that speed of leader, speed of the pack, and to keep you sharp and keep things going?
Yeah, I think working out 4 or 5 days a week. I think obviously keeps, the endorphins going on, make your body feel good. Eating healthy. I think, for me, spending time with the kids, right? They're my purpose. Seeing them do what they love, constantly reading, different books, just to make sure that I'm, very keen to what's going on. And then, when I speak, right, just trying to like move the crowds and moving from a situation where, I'm motivational and can just get up there and yell and scream, but actually try and give them some practical steps and takeaways that they can implement in their lives. So just really just trying to help people in that way. And I think, you look at, for me, sports, and someone's like, what's the greatest sports, thing that ever happened? And, if you read the story of Secretariat in 1973, he won like the Triple Crown. And on that final race of the Triple Crown, like every length of the race, he ran faster than the one before. And if you go on YouTube right now, you can hear the announcer like yelling, screaming, like he's accelerating through the finish line. So I kind of look at that and I look at my life and I say, all right, I want to make a bigger impact in every century of my life, right? So or 20 years. So from 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, I want to have a bigger impact. And the way I'm going to get that done is not going to be with myself, right? Eventually I'm going to slow down, but it's going to be me sharing and helping build other leaders. So I think that's what it makes me excited, makes me inspired to continue to share and build others.
I love that. I love that.
It's obvious one of your whys in life is helping others. And I love that. Between the foundation, between just sharing your underdog story, between your kids. I mean, it's pretty amazing that you're just really, it seems like that's what truly makes you happy, is being able to see others happy because of, a little push, a little help from you, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think Tony Robbins calls it like contribution. And, I think as men, we just love feeling needed, right? We just love solving problems and kind of being there for people and kind of helping people, right? And I'm just a weird type of person, and I get more joy probably seeing other people's win than sometimes myself. And that's fine with me, right? And I feel like, LeBron is such a great player, and he's so unique because I feel like depending on his personnel and his lineups, it's like, hey, I could score 30 points, or I could have 15 assists and 12 points, and we win, and I'm still good. So I think being able in a position to be like, look, man, I could be the CEO, I could be the leader, or I could just, be a part of the team, man, and just encourage and help people. So I think that's something that I just enjoy about myself, that, no ego involved, just wanting to win, just wanting to, do what's right.
So running a real estate team, being a captain and leading there and leading and coaching, how is it similar to leading a football team, leading a Super Bowl defense?
Yeah, so leadership is all similar for me just because of like the underlying thing that I believe is that I don't treat people equal, I treat people fair. And what I mean by that is that, other people that you spend time with value it, they listen, they take notes, they do the work, and when they come back, they're ready to have the continuing conversation. And I'm more than happy to have those conversations with people that are, doing something with information. You got other group of people that will do nothing, will take no notes, will just complain, and then come back like, hey, can we start over from ground zero? It's like, nah, no, I'm no longer available for you, right? So I think, just that mentality of, because if you're not careful in real estate and building a team, you can get the wrong people on your team. And, A players hate nothing more than playing with B players.
Right.
It's true. Yeah.
Right. So I think,
anything.
Just being careful, just, not growing to grow, getting the right people, setting the right expectations, the right onboarding, doing all those things. So then you can hold everyone accountable, and people will feel like, hey, this is a place where, all ships rise, right? It lifts all rising tides, lifts all boats. So I think that's one thing I'm just very challenging of people, right? Because I'm like, hey, I've asked you questions on an interview. You said you wanted to make this much money a year. You said you want to have this lifestyle. You said you want to provide that. I'm only coaching you to the standard that you set for yourself. So I have a question. Did the standards change? Do you no longer want to make this amount of money anymore? Right. And when people start looking at that, right? Oh, you're being tough. No, you said it. I'm just holding you accountable. I'm holding you accountable.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's foreign to people because people sometimes can't differentiate that tough love and that coaching, that constructive criticism with, are they hating on me? No, I'm not. It's no hate. Like, I'm going to sleep great tonight, right?
So my coach in real estate, something that you said, and it reminds me real similar. He's like, if you get offended or if it strikes a chord, instead of getting offended, maybe look, because it's usually something that's getting you, that maybe you need to just act upon it and get real with yourself. And I've always paid attention when somebody says something and I get offended, and I'm like, am I offended, or is it something that strikes a chord that I need to act on? And so,
offended or hard truth.
Most people, most people are in life are just trained to run from their triggers, right? It was how we were born, right? Fight or flight.
Yeah,
we were born to avoid danger, so our brain, still senses danger, right? Either real or imagined, and then we try to avoid it. Where I think successful people, I think it's a difference between, what was it, buffalo and cows. You heard about the buffalo and cows, right?
Yeah.
And during the rainstorm, like the cows run towards the rain. I mean, the buffalo run towards the rain, and the cows run away from it. And I think it's the same thing with successful people.
Yeah,
they run like towards the storm, like towards the triggers. And I think because they're able to then stay there, sit in it, figure out what it is, do the work, they can then overcome it. But if you continue to run from the monster just continue to grow.
So when somebody is in a rut, real estate or life or whatever it may be, what helps somebody get out of it? What's like advice, or what's coaching, or what's when somebody's stagnant? Like I have friends, I have family, I have people on our team. I mean, there's so many people I know, and I know what it takes, for me to get out of it. But what is something? How would you coach somebody to get through a trial or something like that in their life?
Right. So I mentioned the CHAMP framework. So the C was the current situations. So assess your current situation. H, hone in on your desired destination. So sometimes people get lost because they lose sight of what's important. They lose sight of what the vision is, what they're doing this all for. So then, you're going to go through life and not really feel motivated, because what are you motivated for? Like, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to accomplish? So for me, it's just like making that very clear. All right, you want a home here? All right, what are the colors? Right? What kind of ceramic tiles in the bathrooms? Right? What kind of water are you drinking at home? And I think the more you could do that, the more you can reverse engineer how to get there. The A, apply the 80-20 principle. I think so many people in life doing too many of the wrong things. And if we take an inventory of our lives and our to-do list, and if we then look at our to-do list and look at the things on our list that we're currently doing that's going to get us closer or farther away from our goals, if we eliminate some of those things, we'll be a lot closer, right? So I look at then the EAD method, where you either on your to-do list eliminate, right? You automate or you delegate things from that list that's going to help you become a better version of yourself. After you eliminate, you automate, you delegate, then that 20%, that's your warehouse. So when people are in a hole, it's probably because they're doing too many things that isn't in line with what they should be doing. So I think once that 20%, you figure out what that is. Most times in real estate, what are you? I'm a realtor. I sell luxury. I sell condos. I do first-time home buyers. I flip homes. I do this. And it's just like, you're spread too thin.
Right.
So I think when you figure out that 20%, right, you got to take massive action, right? You got to that's that consistency that we talked about earlier. And then for me, it's just like, then always that pursuit of that championship transformation. I always want to be the best version of myself. And, it's like I read a book, and it said the definition of hell is meeting the person that you're supposed to be when you die.
Yeah.
Right? The definition is hell. So for me, I'm just like, damn, I want that guy to be good looking, right? I want to be in shape, rich, happy, right?
Right.
So I'm chasing that version of myself. Like, man, let's keep on working. And so I feel like, that kind of leads me to a situation where, I'm grateful, and it's like this blissful dissatisfaction. They Ed Milet coined that phrase, where I'm blissful, I'm happy, I'm cool with everything that happened in my life, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the man that it made me. But I'm also dissatisfied because I know there's more inside of me, and I just want to continue to produce my best and give the world my best. And I think that's kind of the mission that I'm on.
So Champ, what's next for you? Like, what's the next big thing, or what is it that you've got a pretty sweet resume that you've built so far. What do you have that you're looking forward to now?
Yeah. So with the speaking, still 20 and 30 speaking engagements a year, constantly, raising my fee and, doing more with fewer people. So like, going on personally coaching teams that have the capacity. So not only hearing it one time, but developing a plan where I can help those people then achieve inside that company and being successful. I think ultimately my end goal in life is like, I would love to come on as like a business advisor, and then almost do like profit interest deals. Kind of like, a Shark Tank type situation where not only lending money, right, but then lending advice and expertise in helping the companies kind of grow and kind of getting your kind of piece of it. So that's with that piece. The real estate side, I think still continue to I think I'm gonna start. I built my own personal homes. I never built a home to flip before. Um, my last few renovations, man, there's always something that comes up, and uh, creeps into that margin. So I think I want to start doing some new builds and then like some development.
Right.
Get some stuff like that. So I'm looking at some land right now that I'm negotiating with to kind of build something from the ground up, and then looking at some other like maybe some industrial flex space at some developments. I got a partner that we looking at some of that stuff as well. So I in my mind now where I'm working, I, I know what it's like to be on a big team, and I know what it's like to be a small team, and I also know what P&Ls look like. And I feel like in life, you got to decide whether you're going to be big or small, because mid-sized businesses like don't make money.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
So you have to make that decision on what that kind of looks like, and either you're going to grow through it and get big and exit and do the thing, or you're going to stay small and mighty and do those things. Currently, my mindset is to stay small, right, and just mighty and just do what I want and just enjoy life, and keep on hitting these singles and doubles and rounding the bases, and kind of go from there. So that's kind of what the plan is.
It's been pretty fun with this podcast. Talking to people like you is amazing. Just gleaning your knowledge and your information, and getting to know great people that have done good things. But the Success Blueprint is the name of the podcast, and it's pretty interesting because success is so different for so many people, right? Obviously money can be part of it, but maybe it's not. I mean, it's really relationships, and are you happy, and do you choose to be happy every day? And success looks different for everyone. So, but it's been awesome. I mean, I've basically a whole sheet of notes here that I got to go back and review in here for some of the things you said. I love your champ mentality for your coaching. So many things that we learn here.
What's one play that you would say to run for an entrepreneur or something like that somebody's getting into real estate, somebody's starting a business, whatever it may be? What would be your play that you tell them you got to make sure that you're prepared to run?
I would say doubling down on self-development. I think you can only outsource things to a limit, right? At some point, you're going to have to know. And every time I got into trouble, it was because I didn't know the thing, and I outsourced the thing that someone else was supposed to know.
Yeah.
And it's just easy to be like, oh man, this guy screwed me up, or this guy screwed me up. No, I screwed me up. It all came back. Even though it's not my fault, it's still my responsibility.
Ownership.
Right? So taking ownership of your life. If I want to do better, I need mentors. I need to go to coaching programs. I need to invest in different things to allow me to be better. And then when I'm in the midst of it, I need to constantly push myself, right? I think, again, Tony Robbins talks about, as an owner, you should be looking at the business you're in and the business you're going to be in. And I think constantly doing that forward-thinking exercises. And Coach Yano, and he got this from Penn State, but he had this mantra like "run scared," and what he meant by "run scared" was just like always think that you didn't prepare enough. Right.
Yeah.
Always think that even when I speak, and sometimes, I speak, I usually don't do, I don't do canned speeches. Like I'm going to do this. I'm going to dust off this paper and just do the same speech again. Right. So all my stuff is custom. But even up until I speak, I'm sitting running my notes, and I have that like performance anxiety.
Yeah.
And it was like, and my girlfriend now, she's like, what are you going to say? I'm just like, no, I'm still working on it. She's like, you're still working on it. Like, you speak in 30 minutes, right? It's just like, but then when I get on stage, it's just so natural. And I can go so many different directions through my speeches and my talks. But I think that running scared just shows that I care, right? And even like when I'm doing deals and I'm flipping homes, I'm constantly like comping the properties, constantly seeing if anything else came on the market and what changed and, you know, what kind of finishes that they have and making sure that I match my finishes with my ARV, you know, and just constantly doing the work. And I think, you know, it's kind of obsessive, right? It's kind of crazy, but I think it just gives you that leg up, man. I think, you know, business is the greatest sport of all. It is. And it has really great competitors. And some competitors are coming for it all.
Right.
They don't play nice. They don't play fair. And you don't need to match that energy, but I just think you need to wear what's out there. And then you need to like move forward accordingly.
I love that.
And yeah, I think, and that's just the mindset that I have. And I would tell others, are just like, hey, man, you know, assume the worst, hope for the best. Like, there's gonna be some bad stuff that comes up. Like, have a plan.
When you talk about the like preparing, you know, some people would say you don't want to have analysis paralysis, right? Where you prepare so much you don't do anything. But that's not what you're saying. If I understand correctly, you're saying keep your feet moving. Just keep checking your steps and making sure as you're going, but keep those feet moving. But just keep, you know, going back through and making sure and seeing what else you can do better and as you're going, right? And I think that that's kind of entrepreneurship in itself, is moving forward, building the plane as you're falling, and then but just making sure it's going to fly. Keep going back through it, making sure you're prepared.
It's funny. I have like a Nissan Passenger, like a 12 passenger car. It's great to travel. So I drive a lot with the kids. And you know, sometimes when you're driving at different elevations, it seems like you got a flat tire or something, right? Or it seems like something's going wrong with the vehicle, right? And you know, I'm constantly checking at the gas station, you know, repumping the tires, redoing this, making sure the oil's, you know, making sure I plan on continuing to move. I can't, like, I'll be stuck. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I can't stop. Yeah. Right. But I got to run my diagnostic check, see what's going on, see if there are any adjustments that need to be made to continue upon my journey. And it's not that I'm analysis by paralysis. No, I just want to ensure a safe, you know, arrival.
Yeah, I think the second you think you have it figured out is when you become stagnant.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, there's no more growth at that point.
Absolutely. You grow or you die.
Well, I have a only dead fish go with the flow saying.
Yep.
So, well, I mean, we'll just rattle off some questions. I wrote some down. Jason, if you can come off of these, or you can, if you want some. But who's the toughest opponent you've ever faced?
Yeah, definitely Tom Brady. I think just the mental gymnastics that you got to go through, the on the line adjustments. I think, you know, and he was very skilled, so he's definitely the toughest by far.
I would say who are you closest with on that championship team?
It's funny. Cato June just texted me this morning something about best friends, and I just saw his son play as a senior. So Cato June by far.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's one word that you would describe your NFL career?
Man, one word, impactful.
Love that. And then I think you kind of already said it, but what would you say got you from walk on to champ? If there was one thing that made that happen, what was it?
Man, I think it's your mindset. I think all of us have a champion inside of us. And we probably also have like a chump, a coward. And it's about who do you feed every single day.
I love that. I love that.
Love it.
Pre-game meeting or pump up song?
It's funny. I would always say I'm not smart enough to be superstitious because I won't remember the superstition and I'll miss it. Yeah. So for me, it was always a pump up song.
What was that?
It was Jay-Z, Heart of the City. It was like the unplugged version, just very soulful. It's just like, just like me against the world type of mentality going out there. Yeah.
I love it. What's your favorite motivational quote or mantra?
Oh man, I think my dad, man, if it is to be, it is up to me.
I love that.
If you could pass on one thing to your kids, what would it be?
Man, it's currently I'm doing it. And I think it's the ability to think and solve problems.
Oh, I
You
love
know,
that.
my
Yep.
my my son comes to me sometimes like, Dad, my game's not working. I'm like, okay. He's like, can you help me? I'm like, did you try anything? He's like, no. I'm like, I would at least try some few things before I come up there and help. Like, what should I try? I'm like, I don't know. What do you think will help? It's like, you think I should take the plug out and plug it back in? I think that a reset fixes 90% of all problems. So I would definitely start there. So, and I think you look at this generation, man, and one, I don't think kids do enough critical thinking, but then I don't think kids get enough criticism at home.
True.
And then they go into this world and they get criticized, and it's like, oh, they're hating. Or I'm gonna leave this job because he was mean, right? Because someone finally gave you feedback. So, a lot of times it's unsolicited, but I give them feedback and I kind of, try to sandwich it in, but I just try to let them know that I love them. Like even my daughter this year, oldest daughter, 16, love her, Gabrielle. She stopped playing volleyball this year as a junior in high school. And she had valid reasons. She didn't want to play JV as a junior. She didn't when necessary want not play a lot. And I think she would have played, but it was her decision. And she thought I'd be mad at her because she's not playing a sport, right? Because I'm the sports dad. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't, it's not that you don't want to, I just want you to do something. And now she's like doing mock trials and she's in speech and debate. And I was
Wow.
just sharing, I just need to know what jersey do I need to put on? Like, where am I cheering? Like, I love you. I'm gonna cheer no matter what you do. She has she joined her play. They have the Crucibles coming up here, so I'm excited to go see that. Right, so she's
That's
just
cool.
creative, and I love that for her. So I'm just like, I'm just a fan, right? And I didn't like you not being volleyball because it doesn't give me anything to cheer for, right? So as
Right.
long as you give me something to cheer for, right, I love it.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Be passionate about something, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't
no
matter what it
doubt.
is.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just going to say, I've heard a lot of people say that, this generation, people complain that they're not problem solvers, they're not critical thinkers, they're not this, but it was our fault, right? I mean, we're the parents that did everything for them, so they're not that. And so, yeah, to be that parent that lets them problem solve is huge.
Yeah, no doubt.
well, Gary, just wrapping up, there's always this saying, never meet your heroes or you'll be disappointed. And man, you always been, like I told you, one of my favorite players. Watching it on Hangover Sundays with one of my best friends from school, and when I reached out to you, and man, you connected, and we talked within that 24 hours. You've been really impactful. I mean, this has been exciting. I've been telling Jason about this, and you've exceeded that. And so I'm just grateful for your friendship, your mentorship. Just you're a great human. I mean, you're just a great dude, and I can see everything that you've talked about, how you're impacting people and how you're moving forward and getting a lot of these raw sides and these vulnerable things that you shared. I mean, there's a lot of exclamation points and stars that have helped me, that are
Yeah.
going to help me. And so thank you so much. And if we could ever repay anything, just please let us know.
Nah, yeah, likewise. It's funny how and we never met officially, right?
Right.
But you helped me out in Costa Rica, right? Real estate wisdom, and I think it's like this right mentorship that we have, and it's so beautiful. Just having like authentic relationships that really you want to see other people win. And, I think I definitely cheer for you. Your family just love the father you are, or the leader you are, like, the community, the T-shirts, right? All the things you kind of got going on, man. I think it's beautiful. So I'm excited you started the podcast. I was your co-host. I'm excited to see what you all do. I'm definitely going to be checking in, man.
Perfect. Hey, last question. Where do the Colts finish? What's the record?
Oh, that's a tough one. So I think, last week they had a scare against,
Arizona.
Arizona. So I don't think they're going to be, what is it, 16-1 now? They got an extra game. So I think they're probably like, 13-4, something around there. I think they get injuries or something happens like that. But I think they win their division, so it gives them a home playoff game. And I think they do good enough to position themselves as that number 1 seed heading into the playoffs.
Heck yeah.
And then it's just like, playing good football in December and January. And the best team that kind of gets on fire at that moment is typically the person who's going to, hoist that trophy.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man, and let's catch up soon.
All right, man.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Appreciate you.
See you.